What is going on, guys? It's Trevor coming at you from Kansas. I'm in the FSD on my Tesla Model 3, and I'm here to talk to you guys about Metaplanet stock, MTPLF. So yeah, guys, if you are interested in Bitcoin, Metaplanet, MicroStrategy, asymmetric bets in the stock market, anything like that, subscribe to the channel because we talk about this stuff every single day. We learn from each other in this community, and we try to make sure everyone's portfolios are higher later in the future, but I'm not a financial advisor, so don't sue me. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, guys, and let me know how many Metaplanet shares you have in the comment section below, as well as let me know what your price target is for Metaplanet shares. Okay, so with that, let's get into it. So Metaplanet, MTPLF, this is Simon Garevich's and Dylan LeClaire's company. It's a crazy company. They're essentially the MicroStrategy of Asia. They operate out of Tokyo, and they used to be a hotel company, right? And they've switched their entire basis into their entire business case into accumulate Bitcoin, right? Accumulate Bitcoin in an accretive way to shareholders, right? And like I said in previous videos, they've really enhanced shareholder trust just in the past month. You know, it's rough to see their MNAV get below 1, right? Or like even like around 1. That's really rough, seeing as Metaplanet is the 4th largest Bitcoin treasury company in the entire world. But at the end of the day, you know, that's the time, in my personal humble opinion, to be buying the shares, right? When there's no premium attached, when you're buying it for its Bitcoin worth and that's it, it actually makes the most sense to take a flyer on the stock, right? So I'm not advocating for anyone to do anything, actually. I'm not advocating for anyone to do anything, but personally, I buy the shares around an MNAV of like 1. I think that's an extremely good deal. But like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own thing and don't sue me. But you know, there were people just a few months ago buying an MNAVs 3 or 4, you know, just like crazy premiums to the Bitcoin that the company held on its balance sheet, right? So we have seen a pretty good appreciation in the stock price recently. It got down to about $2.90, right? And last time I checked today, it was about $3.20. So that is like a 10-12% move up, right? So if you had $1 million and you threw all that in at $2.90, you now have 1.12 mil, you know, so that's, you're not doing too bad, right? You just made, you know, someone's entire salary, you know, in a couple days, right? So it's like this is not an asset. MTPLF is not an asset for the faint of heart, that's for sure, right? It's volatile as heck. It is a very, you think MicroStrategy is volatile? Look at the chart from Metaplanet, right? That's a wild chart, right? Going from, you know, $2 a couple years ago up to $15 now, or like, I mean, a couple months ago, and now it's back down to $3.20. So it's like, you know, buy when there's blood in the streets, right? So like earlier this year when there was Teslas getting burned to the ground all over the country, right? That was the time to be maybe dipping into the Tesla pool and buying a couple shares of Tesla, right? People were scared to death. They thought that Elon was going to get assassinated. They thought that, you know, Teslas were just going to get vandalized all over the country, and they thought that the entire left would stop buying Teslas, and they thought that the right would never buy Teslas, right? These are all fair guesses, you know, but like, look what's happened. Now Tesla's almost $500 a share, right? It's 6 months later. So what I'm getting at here is like, short-term sentiment can really affect stock price in the short term, but the long-term fundamentals are what actually set companies apart, right? So short-term volatility can be really good, like buying or selling options, right? Like time frames, right? So like, let's say if Metaplanet was $20 here, trading at an MNAV of 7, I'm getting out. I'm being honest with you. I'm selling. I'm not just gonna own the Metaplanet shares just to own them, right? No, I'm gonna own them when it's lucrative to own them, right? And anything around an MNAV of 1, in my personal humble opinion as a guy on YouTube, I think that is a steal. I think it's an absolute crazy steal, right? I mean, I just really don't know how it's gotten this low, especially when Bitcoin hasn't, you know, done that much. I get that these Bitcoin treasury companies and the crypto treasury companies in general really trade a lot on sentiment, right? So like sentiment and momentum. Momentum is the other thing, right? So the sentiment around Bitcoin isn't terrible from what I've seen. I mean, everyone, you know, starting at the beginning of October, they were saying October's going to be October. You know, November's going to be like, they gave it some sort of nickname, and same thing with December. I can't remember what these nicknames were, but it was something along the lines of, we think Bitcoin's going to go up huge, right? And I saw a graph today that like it showed that this October was the worst October for Bitcoin in like 11 years, right? And that every October since 2018 has been, you know, an increase from October 1st to October 31st since 2018. So almost a decade. So historically, Q4 is amazing for Bitcoin, right? And that doesn't mean that every single Q4 is going to be amazing. I'm still on board that I think that this year is going to be good for Bitcoin. Michael Saylor came out just a couple days ago and gave a price target of $150,000 for Bitcoin by the end of the year. Now, if we see 150K Bitcoin by the end of the year, I'd be very excited to see where Metaplanet is going to be at, right? Because Metaplanet is like volatile like none other. Let's just put it that way, right? If Bitcoin goes to 150, so you're talking about almost a 50% upside in Bitcoin, you should see, especially at these deflated MNAVs, you should see 100 to 200% gain in Metaplanet, in my personal humble opinion. So we're at 320 today. I think, like I said, if Bitcoin's at 150, well, you're gonna like 100%, you're gonna see Metaplanet at least $5, right? But I think it could be more like $7 or $8, right? And actually, am I doing that math right? Yeah, I guess I am, because it's a 50%. Yeah. So, yeah. I think $10 would be a stretch. I think you'd have to have quite an MNAV for Bitcoin to be 150K and it'd be, you know, $10 stock price for Metaplanet. But, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, maybe we don't see the highs that we saw a few months ago for Metaplanet, but we're still going to see, like, good appreciation as well as, like, good accretive Bitcoin accumulation, right? That's something else to note, right? Is like, even when Metaplanet was $15, they had less shares outstanding because they hadn't diluted shares as much, right? So that's important to note, right? So as of now, they've got over 30,000 Bitcoin, okay? And that's not even including the most bullish, and I mean the most bullish part of their business hasn't even started, and it's not even close to how bullish this is. Like Metaplanet has a goal of getting to 210,000 Bitcoin. 210,000. That is 1% of the entire Bitcoin supply. 1 entire percent by 2027, right? We're almost into 2026. How do you think they're going to do this? They're going to do this with the perpetual preferred shares, right? We see all the different types of perpetual preferred shares that Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy came out with, and you know, there's like 5 or 6 or 7 different kinds. It's like all of them do different things, and you got to learn about them all, and it's kind of a nightmare. But at the same time, once you get into the nitty gritty of them, you see why they did this. It's actually very, very smart. It's just, you know, essentially adjusting to each like investor, right? Because investors have money allocated to certain different things based upon risk adjustment, right? Like we have a savings account, we've got an emergency fund, we've got our house, we've got our stock portfolio, we've got all sorts of different things, money, all sorts of different places, right? Just your average investor does, right? So it's important to be able to, you know, adjust each individual investor's personal needs, which are multifaceted. You know what I mean? Because every investor has money on all these different places, right? So, like, personally, I own MSTR, I own STRC, right? So I own I own the underlying, like the main fund, which is MSTR, where they actually accumulate Bitcoin, and then I also own Stretch, which is where I have my savings account and my emergency fund in, right? That pays 10.5% dividend yield with basically no volatility and very, 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 very little risk, right? And right now, Metaplanet is just the sole, you know, the fund MTPLF, or if you're in the TSC, it's a different fund. It's like 3350 or something like that, right? But like in the long term, like we're gonna have at least one, and I imagine quite a few different types of perpetual preferred shares that Metaplanet offers to its investors, right? So this is all a big deal. It's already been approved. These perpetual preferred shares have already been approved by the shareholders. I want to say it's like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of perpetual preferred shares issued have already been approved by shareholders, and now they just have to go through the TSC for the final, you know, I's get dotted and the T's get crossed type of thing. Because the TSC the Tokyo Stock Exchange hasn't ever dealt with something like this before. So it maybe takes a little bit longer, but at the same time, they get the opportunity to take advantage of like what MSTR did in the United States and kind of just show the TSC, be like, hey, this is what they did over here. This is what, you know, and they're just copying them. And they've said it a million times. They're just copying them. And that's what Michael Saylor told them to do, is just copy, right? Because, I mean, the narrative is the same behind both companies. And the way that they're both accumulating capital to buy the hardest asset in the world, Bitcoin, is the same thing, right? You're just looking at the MicroStrategy for Asia, right? So once again, I've said this in many videos before, but this is my logic. And if anyone disagrees with this logic, let me know in the comment section below. If you believe in Bitcoin, do you think Bitcoin's going to $1 million in the next few years, $10 million in the next 10, 15 years? If you believe that, then it's really hard not to believe that MicroStrategy is going to do really well, right? Because they've got 640,000 Bitcoin. So if the Bitcoin 10x's, MicroStrategy's asset value basically has to 10x or close to it based upon the MNAV, right? If Bitcoin 100x's, MicroStrategy is going to 100x, if not more, maybe a little less. It's going to be somewhere between like 90 and 1,000x, right? Just depending upon like investor sentiment, momentum, these types of things, right? And then Metaplanet is the exact same way, except for Metaplanet actually is trading at an MNAV of basically 1.0 right now. MicroStrategy is at 1.3, Metaplanet is at 1.0, right? So if Bitcoin goes to 1 million, so basically 10x's, Metaplanet will at least 10x. It'll probably more like 20x, 15x. This is just a guess by me, but it should outperform Bitcoin. If you look at the historical performance of Metaplanet and the historical performance of MicroStrategy, they both outperform Bitcoin in the same time frame that Bitcoin, in the same time frame, right? So if you can look at history and judge anything about the future, that's what these two Bitcoin treasury companies do. They just grow their market cap by crazy numbers, right? Just absolutely crazy numbers. So that's my whole point, guys. It's like if you like Bitcoin, you gotta like MicroStrategy. If you like MicroStrategy, you gotta like Metaplanet, right? Because they're all in bed together in a way. You know what I mean? Like Michael Saylor's constantly shouting out Simon Garovich and Metaplanet, and it's the same way Simon Garovich, Dylan LeClaire, and Metaplanet are always shouting out MicroStrategy. You got Eric Trump as a strategic advisor to Metaplanet. And Eric Trump and the Trump family already have their own Bitcoin miner / treasury company called ABTC, American Bitcoin Company. So it's like all of that is its own idea, and there's so many other things you can wrap around in this gift package that is Metaplanet shares, right? The other thing is like Metaplanet, like I said in the beginning of the video, used to be a hotel company, a dying hotel company with no volatility in their stock, right? And now look at, they're one of the most volatile stocks in the TSE, right? And volatility is vitality for these crypto treasury companies because they all require so much momentum for them to go up, right? So a lot of companies, guys, I'm telling you, a lot of companies, a lot of governments are all incentivized to just pump money into Bitcoin. Like it puts you on the map. It gives you attention, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, right? If any of you guys know him, attention is the new currency, right? So these companies are garnering so much attention. If you get on X, it's almost every day that MicroStrategy is trending, right? Or at least once a week, where it's like Michael Saylor said something, MicroStrategy did something, or Bitcoin related, or the whole idea of crypto is just like such a massive industry that's creating billionaires, and I think it'll create trillionaires long term. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys do your own research on Metaplanet. Come back, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. What is your price target for Metaplanet this year and the next year? What's your price target for Bitcoin, right? And what MNAV do you think is an appropriate MNAV to buy for Metaplanet? And what MNAV are you selling your shares for Metaplanet? Because that's really what it boils down to, is the premium that you're paying on the company compared to its Bitcoin value, right? So let me know what MNAV is appropriate for buying and selling in the comment section below. If you made it this far, it's a 14-minute long video, guys. What are you doing? You gotta subscribe to the channel. We talk about this stuff all the time. We love crypto on this channel. We love crypto treasury companies, and we love AI, we love robotics, and we love asymmetric bets, where we can put a little bit of our portfolio here, a little bit of our portfolio here, a little bit of our portfolio here, and maybe not every single one 10x's, but there's gonna be some that 10x, right? Like, without a doubt, if you make enough asymmetric bets, you're gonna have some winners. And I'm the type of guy where I let my winners ride, right? Because in my opinion, like, I think that there's a reason why those companies are winning. Maybe it's a momentum and like a bubble in the short term, maybe, but most of the time, I mean, look at Nvidia, look at Meta, look at Tesla, look at Google, look at Amazon, look at look at the Mag 7, right? And look at other stocks too that, like, over time, if they're a good business, they go up, they do well, and then, like, 1%, you know, a 1% move now compared to 1% move in 10 years when the stock's a lot higher. It's like amazing what the difference can be when you, you know, when you use compound annual growth rate over a long time frame, right? Where it's like you buy something now, you put it in the file cabinet and you look at it in 10 years type of thing, you know. And I believe that Metaplanet's one of those stocks where it's like you got to store it, you know. You can check the price if you want to on a daily basis like I do, but at the same time it's like it doesn't really matter whether you do that or not. The key is to you know when to buy, know when to sell, know when to hold. In my personal humble opinion from a guy on YouTube, I think it's time to buy some Metaplanet stocks. All right, guys, like I said, subscribe to the channel and have yourself a great, fantastic day.